Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good lunch. Welcome to the TNC. Here to give you, see the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, your host to this wonderful program, the HR Hotline. Welcome back to the HR Hotline. Actually, at this time, I'm supposed to be in a necrological service, but I left the service so that we can have this episode for the day. Actually, it's a sad day for the People Management Association of the Philippines. 2 days ago, our chairman emeritus left us, which is why 2 days ago, the episode with president of the Cardinal Santos Medical Center, Pilar Almira, the episode was dedicated or a tribute to Orlando Peña. Anyway, today is a wonderful day because our topic, actually, we must be able to understand it. And if you're an HR person, you must be able to share it later and then must be able to explain this to your people. Our topic for today is actually the recent DTI and DOLE guidelines. But before we go to that and introduce our guest, this is the portion wherein I give my HR insights. Actually, for the topic, it really hits our competence. The competencies given to us by Dave Ulrich, which is compliance. We have to be compliant. Remember, I mentioned one time the balance between offensive and defensive HR. And in the defensive HR, you have to be compliant. What's more, that the guidelines are really meant for us. Naririnig mo ngayon, I would like to say it in the dialect, reklamador, pasaway. As owners, as HR, we must influence our human resources, our employees, to abide with the guidelines given to us by the government agencies because it is for our protections. So compliance is, I know that, the more that you can skirt away, the more that you can look into something that what you want will be, I cannot really mention it because it's a negative word. But we have to follow. Of course, every one of us will say, it's a little bit expensive. It's a little bit tedious. But we have to be compliant, or else it's not anymore that we are not obeying what is in the law, but it's actually for our protection. So it's about taking care of people. It's about on time or responsive communication. It's about being credible. It's about convincing management that you have to comply. And it starts from all of us. Of course, it is not only the responsibility, although you are accountable, of HR. It's and everyone. From the utility man who is given the instruction to disinfect. Are you listening to me? Because I have kasambahay here. When I tell them to disinfect, they must be sincere, true to what they are doing. So when you give an instruction to your utility, the janitors, to disinfect the toilet, to disinfect the knobs, they have to make sure that it is the proper way. Or just imagine right now, your security guard or your receptionist will allow somebody to come in, barkada. So compliance is not only for the HR manager, neither for the owners. Compliance includes also each and every one. For the contact tracing, each and every one must be honest to declare. So it is a duty of everybody. Now we have, that is, I always call that the positivity of the pandemic. Those spiritual will tell us the Lord may be telling us something. The pandemic compelled us to be virtual, which is why we have live streaming, Zoom meetings. The pandemic compelled us to be at home. So the work-life integration that was being discussed before, it's now appreciated. I have right now a webinar, series of webinar for a government agency, and they love my program, which is managing work from home and our alternative working arrangement employees, remote employees. I did it also to ECOP. So everybody is involved, is engaged. I have a son who works with a logistic company. We made an arrangement that he cannot come in the house before he takes his bath outside in the garden. Last night he arrived because we made it a point that it's better that he works on the night shift because there are lesser people. That's strategy. But I woke up when he arrived at around 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I asked him, where did you take your bath? Even if it is raining or even if it is cold. Why? I am 65 years old. I am diabetic. So everybody should be compliant with the health protocols in the house. Similarly, that should be done in offices. Okay. Our guest today is a friend. We click together. I've known her before, but casual. But fate, or we were together in a trip to Siem Reap in Cambodia because we attended an event sponsored by the ILO, International Labor Organization. And would you believe one of the modules there that we discussed is actually the new ways of doing work? I will ask her about that. And that new way of doing work is actually the gig economy, which I am doing now, where it's actually being practiced now that we are on remote. At that time, we did not appreciate much the discussion, but at this time, it is for real. Why we got close? Because at that time, similarly at this time, I will ask her also about that. Both of us are spiritual and religious person. We were looking for a church. We were in Cambodia. So we went around riding they have the tuk-tuk, moving around. Lo and behold, somebody informed us that there is one. And that Catholic Church actually are run by, what do you call this? Ignatian, from Loyola, Saint Ignatius, the congregation of Saint Ignatius. Anyway, so there was a chapel and we prayed. Lo and behold, both of us are Marian devotees. We could have just prayed facing the crucifix, the big crucifix. But on an instant, both of us rose and both of us knelt in front of an image of the Virgin Mother in a title that is Cambodian. She started weeping. I started crying. And we ended up praying the rosary, holding hands together. That's why, kahit anong mangyari, we are close. And later on, I was an ILO consultant and I used to collaborate with her. Okay. She sent me a lengthy resume. But I will just tell you, she's a doctor. And she used to be the head of the Quezon City Department of Labor and Employment facility for occupational health and safety. I am so happy. Her career is blooming. She's now an assistant secretary, and I will ask her what is the sector that he's handling now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet ASEC Dr. Marites, I call her Tess, Cueco.
Hi, Jesse. Good afternoon.
Good
Afternoon na.
afternoon. Okay, good
Yes.
afternoon. I noticed that you are not wearing a PPE. So where are you now?
Of course, in my most protected area, my home, and
I
inside my
see.
office.
Okay, there is a problem of connectivity there. For a live stream, you always encounter that. Before I was like that. When I talk, sometimes it's cut. But okay, let's just have her and then let's have patience. Yes,
Because
Doctora. Yes, Tess. Yes, yes, yes. You can continue. You can continue. Okay, let's wait for her to fix the connectivity. Okay. Um, yes. So you have met her. She's a dear friend, and we're going to talk about the recent guideline, joint guideline from DTI and DOLE. So before we'll have her connections. Okay. Uh, let me start. Let me start. One of which is actually the use of the face mask and the face shield. And there is an instruction of what we are going to use. Uh, if we're going to use that one of soon by um, the cloth face mask, there is a need for you to actually use another protection, a a what do you call this? A handkerchief or a tissue paper will do. But there is already a mandate that everybody should use also the face mask. So to protect our mouth and nose, face mask, what I mean is a face shield. Face shield also is to protect your eyes. So it's actually double. So it is just making sure that when you go to the office, you are protected. The other thing is about even the social distancing. I should not be telling you this because I would like to listen to the thoughts of Doctora. Are we okay now with the connectivity of Doctora Tess?
I changed my hi. Can you see me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, yes,
Sorry,
yes, yes.
because I
It's
changed
okay.
changed device. Suddenly
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
That's why I
Alam
had
mo,
to.
when you, Doctora Tess, it's actually the new normal.
I know.
Well, I know, I know.
I,
Actually, if you are not live, we will ask you to have it on the horizontal. But since we are live and we can see you
I'm
and we
so
can hear
sorry.
you,
So
let's go. Let's go. Let's
yeah, let's just
continue.
do this because really I just had to change to my phone and my phone is locked. If I unlock it now, it just might get. But at least you hear me and you see me. And
Yes.
what? Thank you, Jesse. You were asking me about. Can you kindly repeat?
Yeah. I was just asking you, what is now the sector that you're handling?
Okay. I'm with the regional operations, and of course, I'm still with the Bureau of Working Conditions. I'm concurrent, so it's still working conditions, general labor standards, safety and health, the inspection. So all of these are really in the scope of the work I'm doing, and yes, I also am um, the backstop of the secretary when he attends the interagency task force.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful because you're moving around.
No,
Are
no,
these in virtual collaboration tools, or are you really there face to face?
no. It used to be when we were starting, we were really having meetings in Malacanang face to face very often, of course, because this was the start of COVID. And then, because, they are seniors and they are, of course, they are the high government officials, we shifted to Zoom. I think in the third week of March, it was already video teleconferencing, and because the generals were they were being affected. That was the first time Secretary Anyo tested positive. He is tested positive again now because anyway.
That
So
is why. That is why. Anyway, for us religious people, we are protected by the Lord. I know that.
where we trust ourselves to, and we
Yes.
pray for us.
Okay. So we're now, so we nail it. We are now really dealing to the point person. So the first question will be
Yeah.
lighter. Tell
Yeah.
us about the face masks and the face shields.
Okay.
Na tayo mag-umpisa.
Sige. Actually, we really started with a face mask, and should understand why. Because the virus comes from secretions, and it's still it's droplet. So if you're infected, you will be transmitting it through the saliva. If you would sneeze, you would cough, it will be in your secretions. So the best way really was to provide the barrier. If you're the one with an illness, that barrier, if you have the secretions, will keep it to yourself and not bring it out. And if you're uh, in the area with someone who is sick, it is also a protection so that whatever germs will not enter, especially the three main um, routes: your nose, your mouth, and your eyes. But then the eyes was uncovered. But if you wear glasses, there's a covering there. But then that's why the mask first was like with frequent disinfection. That's why you always have to wash your hands, because if you touch anything and suddenly you
Okay. Let me ask you this question because this is HR hotline. Who is supposed to provide the mask and the shield?
the employer. I mean, wait, kasi it becomes ano ha, when the interagent said everyone, as soon as you leave your house, must wear a mask, there is that responsibility that I should be bringing my own mask. And that's why we went down to saying, maski cloth mask. And I remember really when this was being discussed, bandana na lang, may protection lang. Kasi nga, doon nga lumalabas ang virus. O maski ano mang mikrobyo. So, that was, and when they said maski bandana lang, then the responsibility was to the person when he goes out of the house. Now,
Mm.
okay, that's why now you look at the workplace, because it was also required for all workers to wear the mask, and because it was now required, then there is a responsibility for the employer to provide the mask. And here we would look at a better type of mask, hindi lang yung bandana, maski cloth mask. At least yung it's more with more layers, it is washable para hindi naman si employer ay bumili pa ng disposable
You
na
know what I read, Doctora, is that ASEC, if it is a cloth mask, you have to still put a tissue
yeah.
paper.
Yes, because that's additional filter. And that tissue paper, once it's soiled, and you're in work, which is like, even if it's just 4 hours of work, and more so if it's 8 hours, if it's soiled, you take it off and then you put another, so that it is you have that another filter of
Because I
protection.
was just thinking for the cost implication. Kasi yung face shield that can be given at bahala na yung employee to take care of it. But the cloth mask, pwede rin given, mura rin yon. But siguro what the organizations can do, the companies can do, is just to provide the tissue for
Yeah,
another filter.
yes, another filter. And then this one, because this is HR. Please let your workers know that once they handle the face shield, even before handling a face shield, lalo na after, they add the face, they add the tissue or they move it because they're going to eat. Wash your hands before.
Okay, nandun na tayo, ASEC, nandun na tayo. Tingnan mo, doktora, ASEC, doktora, nalilito na ako sa ASEC. ASEC, ASEC, nandun na tayo. Nabasa ko, dapat maglalagay sila ng mga wash stations.
Yes.
What is your instructions doon sa wash stations na yan?
Ah, you know, yung toilet, say, yun na muna ha. Yung toilet, sana may tubig. Hindi naman sabi namin running water kasi alam naman natin may mga opisina na minsan sira na yung fall. At least there's clean water and soap. so that it's available that when they wash their hands, there's clean water and soap. So that's for the toilets. Then next, you have other stations that where there's frequent frequent gathering, or for workers could be present in those areas. Then you put the alcohol or sanitizers just to let them it's a reminder, and then that they should use that. It's really good that they use it to frequently disinfect. But before this, Jessica, can we go back to the face shield?
Yes, sure,
Kasi
sure. Ay, sige, before you do that, ang daming nakikinig sa atin, natutuwa nga ako, si Rebecca, si Jennifer, si Joby. Can all of those who are now live watching us, can you post some of your concerns as far as the health protocols are concerned? 'Di ba? So that masagot. Nandito na yung ating point lady of the Secretary of Labor and of AITF. Kung meron po kayong tanong, sige na. I know some of my students in PMAP are watching. Marami kayong tinatanong sa akin, hindi ko nasasagot. Nandito na po si ASEC Doktora Tess. Okay. Okay. So, yes, yes, yes. Balik tayo dun sa face mask and face shield, Doktora.
diba? O, alam niyo na yung protection na. Then we find, oh my, then we find out that, ano ba tawag dito? Di ba, when cases were increasing, and
Yes.
then di ba may actually tatlo lang naman talaga kagad yung minimum public health standards, the mask, the distancing. But I'll go back to the first. But I have to just say this, and the frequent disinfection. Then as we were opening the economy, they were already saying, baka, because especially when you go to open transport, because you're going to your public transport, I mean,
MRT, bus, di
yeah,
ba?
you would need, I mean, there will be more people, and you will be interacting with more people. And then there was this, we had an expert who said, medical grade mask, and this is the mask that you would see yung mga doktor, then what we wear now, yung blue, dark light blue, pink, you would see that. And uh, the protection, it reduces the risk of transmission, is like from 65 to 70 depending on the mask, all the way to 80% only. The N95 gives you really a 95 to 99% protection. That's
Okay.
fine, but that is so expensive, and you will have to replace it every once in a while. But the ordinary mask that we use, it's still disposable, but the risk, the your risk of protection is just up to at the most 80%. But when you add a face shield, the the risk of transmission or your protection goes as high as 90+%. It see, it already goes so high, it jumps. And then with distancing, that's why that 1 meter distancing, it is now reaching almost like a 98% protection to you. So those three gives you a very high protection number from this virus or any microbe at all that's present. So that's why we
Ay,
added
nako.
it
Ako,
also.
Asek, kung nagpupunta sa ATM, naka-gloves pa ako. Wag.
That's basta ang mahirap lang sa gloves, understand, you have to take it off. Yan yung disposable parate. Kasi pag naghumawak ka ng ibang bagay o surface, yung ATM nga, may surface yon. Eh may humawak nun na may mikrobyo. Tapos hindi mo, tapos ginamit mo. Kasi hindi mo tinanggal, kaagad yung gloves mo. Tapos humawak ka sa kotse mo, pumasok
Yan
na.
na.
I mean,
Okay.
hindi mo, di ba? But
Okay.
if you will wash your hands,
Before we have our first break, let me ask you this question. Yun tayo sa social distancing, especially sa opisina.
okay.
Social distancing po.
Social sa opisina.
Oh,
Oh,
physical
sa
distancing.
opisina. Oh, physical. Yeah, it's physical distancing because diba ang social distancing. Anyway, 1 meter at the least. Kasi in our supplemental guidelines, we even want it more. Kasi sabi nga nila, 1 meter, yes, there's already a good range of protection.
Ano po
But
yung
you
1
put
meter? 1 meter from one person to another or yung table yung 1 meter apart?
it's really it's one person to another, it's 1 meter. So if you're
Okay, 3 feet.
using a table, then it's mas malaki, 'di ba? Kasi hindi naman you're not using kasi may area pa yung table at may area din yung table niya, 'di ba? So
Mm-mm.
it gets more and that is a better number between people.
Okay.
Na,
So
na
we'll go back to our this very informative conversation. Let's have muna our first set of commercials. Okay? Don't leave po, don't leave, don't leave. Okay. So this is welcome back. We are having I know I'm so happy because I'm having a conversation with my dear friend. But I still have one commercial that I have to read. Oh, it's okay. So we can continue. Okay, this is it. So you have to tune in to the new channel because we have shows almost every day. And then it is the new normal. So from the big picture of Lloyd Luna, which is it's a fun and it's so engaging. Uh, from Mondays to Fridays at 7 p.m. Then you are my lunch date on TTHS. And also uh, watch iBusiness, the fourth project of Bob, Usapang Beauty, the U-Turn of Carmine, and Mr. Dante Salamat's The Home Buyer, a funny and engaging program, The Puppet Stories by Wan Lu. Then we have The Marketplace Near Midnight by two lovely ladies. And then we have the YOLO. It's so engaging also. And then The Talk on Mondays with my friend Dennis Calamba. Then the After Shift by Chino and Tricia. The Press Con, the Town Hall, and then an original show in TNC one day. So I would like you to subscribe and be with us for the whole week. So let's have again ASEC Dr. Tess Conqueco.
hi.
Hi,
Okay. Hi.
Dr. Tess, you are from where? Saan ka talagang, saan ang probinsya mo?
Hindi, ang parents ko, my father is from Ilocos Sur, my mother is from Pangasinan. But dito lang kami
Ah,
pinanganak. Pero nakakaintindi
ah.
ako ng Ilocano, kaya hindi ako pwedeng mabenta. Talagang ibig sabihin, nakakaintindi ako. Although I try to talk, but I can a little, but it's not as fluent. It's not as good as I want to talk, when as the Ilocanos would be conversing. But
Okay. Ang dami ko pang, I still have a lot of questions to ask you. So, one is, let's jump. Let's go into that controversial testing. Kasi just this morning, I received an info na yung isang rapid test is not in a more advisable. What are your thoughts on this?
yes, rapid test kasi is not really, ang daming false negative at marami rin false positive. That's why it is so it makes decision very difficult. Is it true? Is it really uh is the result from a rapid test real? That's why nga, di ba, if you're positive in a rapid test, you still have to have a PCR. First they were saying kung negative, at kasi may dalawa yan, may IgM, IgG. Okay na daw yung IgG, but then later on sabi nila hindi, kailangan pa rin ma-validate. So it's like, kung magte-test ka pa rin pala ulit, and the gold standard is RT-PCR, they were saying you might as well have it with the RT-PCR. Pero doon lang tayo natatalo sa RT-PCR with the length of the result. And you know that the once you're tested and you're the contact, everything that's important that should follow, especially contact tracing, nahihirapan na rin. If you get the result after 5 days, even if they say you isolated yourself before the results are out, pero could you still recall the people whom you saw 2 days before and up to now?
Mm-mm.
Yung ganun ba? So, and then, kaya medyo, yun lang naman ang nahihirapan
So,
because
it's
of the
not advisable. So, it's better kung talaga you don't feel well, swab na kaagad.
swab na. And then, stay at home, ha? Kasi ang maraming nangyari dyan, after the swab, umiikot pa. Tapos sasabihin nila, ay, positive pala ako. Eh, yung 5 araw na nag-antay siya at umikot, hindi na talaga niya maaalala kung sino ang mga nakasama niya. Pero that's why even as we were consulted, the DOH will say, once you first, if it's a swab because you have symptoms, once you have symptoms, you really should be isolated, and then your swab again continue the isolation, and then even if it would be negative because you have symptoms, please isolate yourself until you get well. But if it is positive, then if it doesn't get any worse, it's still a 14-day quarantine.
Now, let me
So,
ask you a personal question. Sabi mo isolation. When is actually the time that a person will, ano, uh, yung magpunta na siya, yung what do you call this, declare himself really sick and go to a hospital?
to go to a hospital na. A hospital is going to be usually, and then, kasi because of the spectrum or the range of symptoms with COVID, kasi it really starts with colds and cough, and then that will carry on yung mga nawawala nga ng pang-amoy, pero maganda pa rin ang pangkain, nakakaikot pa, nakakalakad, inside the room, pero talagang quarantine na dapat yun, ha? Then, if at any time they would feel nahihirapan ng, it's really that's why they say if you can have an oximeter, kasi for the oxygen saturation, which means your lungs are being affected already. If it goes lower like a 90, 92, you might start telemedicine and they'll tell you when to go to a hospital, because these are the parameters where we ask the people to go to. But once there's a weakness that you really feel it, it's really bearing you down, then you should already be going to a hospital.
Pero kung wala pa naman yun, the isolation lang is
Yes,
ano.
isolation. Many people, although sinasabi na nga ngayon, but there is also really yung ano yun punuan na kasi din yung itong mga, maski itong mga treatment management facility, lalo na ospital, kasi pwede ka naman positive na asymptomatic, di ba? At sinasabi, hindi, ihiwalay na natin sila kasi kung walang, kasi yung mga tao sa bahay, pero kung punuan na, edi sa bahay nga, at ang ibibigay nyo talagang sariling kwarto at sariling banyo para hindi na siya lumabas at talagang i-isolate doon, at yung mga tao naman sa bahay ay hindi na mahawaan. So, then these are for the asymptomatics, and even for mild, they can be handled as long as you know the proper precautions. Kasi pati yung pagkain niya, yung yung gamit niya, hiwalay yon. And once na lumabas yon, talagang ibabad mo muna pati paglalaban yung mga damit niya, ibi-bleach mo muna yan, or tapos bago labhan, tapos yung maglalaban nun ng gamit ng may positive, may mga ano yan, naka-mask din siya, kasi syempre nandun
Okay. Asik, let's go back to the offices. So the offices. So nag-end tayo doon sa distancing. Okay. Yung ano, yung pag-congregate. Di ba nakalagay yung pag-congregate meetings,
yeah.
canteens? Yes.
Yeah, okay. Those areas, these are common use areas, like the meeting rooms, canteens, locker room, gym, smoking areas. Those areas kasi have been seen, and even the shuttle, because it's with people, have been noted to be the possible source of infection among workers. And that is why, if we were in the supplemental, we were very strict na, okay, kung magda-dine in, dapat talaga may distancing. Dapat may barriers, at saka one person to the table. We don't even like na nga two, even kung alternate. Then we're saying, just add more dine-in or places to eat, like in other areas, like if you have a gym, so that you will really spend, and then have staggered meal hours, so that they are not
Okay. Ang
there.
tanong ko po, is this all over the Philippines or is it only here in Metro Manila and in Cebu?
All over the Philippines. This is a
Oh,
nation. This supplement is for
good.
national in
So
scope.
clear yun. So
Oh,
just imagine if you are a company wherein you have plants or factories na multi-site, dapat
lahat yan.
ano yun, lahat yan,
Lahat yan.
consistent.
Yes po.
Kasi may nakikita ko sa Facebook ko, yung dito sa Manila, talagang may distancing. Yung doon sa ibang lugar ng Pilipinas, they are eating together.
Dikit-dikit na. No. This is what we also, that's why, remember, when you eat, your masks are off. And even when you smoke, tas mga yung smoking area, that when masks are off, secretions are out. And when secretions are out, you can understand the contamination to the surfaces. And even that's why, when even if you talk to your colleague or to people, kasi matagal na kayo, it's a time for, but your masks are off. Remember, um, ano yan, ah, batuhan na yan ng laway. And if you're asymptomatic, and you can now understand how you can be contaminated. That's why it was in the guidelines. No talking while eating. Eat, clean your place, then wear your mask. Then of course, wash your hands. Then wear your mask. Then wear your face shield. And if you want to talk with your coworkers, do so. But again, still observe physical distancing. So it's
Okay. Doktor, hindi ko natanong sa'yo, sino po ang magbabayad dun sa swab test?
okay. Nandun naman sa ang
Supplementary, supplementary,
oh,
supplementary.
nandun yun, di ba? Nandun. But then it's also that was lifted from DOH circular that says, if you are, this is where, if you are, okay, employers, really, that is your responsibility. But in the supplementary in 258, we have given for the employers a window that they can reimburse through PhilHealth, because
Yes.
there are categories of workers where the expanded testing can be done. And these are the workers that would have frequent interaction with the public. That's why ang una, but of course, the healthcare, you would understand why they would also have regular testing, kasi they're so exposed. Then in the priority economy workers, nandun na po yung manufacturing, in the processing zones or manufacturing. And then you have the tourists in the restaurants, non-food, retail, logistics, construction, other services, teachers, judges in the government. So it's all there. If you are part of that, and there is actually there's still three more qualifications. You're part of the priority economy sector that's written there. You have frequent interaction with the public, and you are in a special concern area, meaning to say, mataas ang COVID cases sa lugar na yan, that is reimbursable to PhilHealth. So that
Okay.
is where the employers can really be assisted because everybody, the employer said, we want, but it's so expensive. But with this naman, it gives you an opportunity now that you, especially because you have workers who really might need to be tested regularly and nandun yung frequency, uh, then it is reimbursable with health.
Yes, yes, yes. So that is now yung sa contact tracing. Sa contact sa contact tracing po, ano po yung obligation ng HR at ng tao?
Okay.
Mahaba yun eh. Mahaba na nilagay
Alam
na nabasa.
ganito kasi yan, ha? First, okay, you have a positive case. You will when you have a positive case, then you have to identify the close contacts. Kaya nga contact tracing. Who are the close contacts? Nandun din naman what is in the supplemental guidelines are also part of the memo circular that was issued by the DOH. So if you talk to a person less than a meter for 15 minutes or more with or without a mask, if you had physical contact with a positive case, meaning to say nag-ano kayo, I mean nagbeso-beso, then that's physical, or you were carrying a positive, then you are a close contact. So if you have identified a positive case in the office, it is the responsibility of the safety officer. But remember, some companies may not have a safety officer, so HR should kick in, or a health officer, of course, then HR, so that you will now identify the close contacts. So once you have identified close contacts, there is a training for this. It's not simply saying, oh, sige, ito. They're trying to really bring down to a scope of one person exposed to 37. So you will identify that in so that you can enlarge the scope of sino yung mga close contacts. But in the offices naman kasi, you can really identify, it will not be more than, it's hard to say 37 if he's really into one workstation alone. So medyo malilimitahin mo rin. Now, sino ang dapat mabigyan ng information? For the COVID and the close COVID case, the confirmed case, and the close contact, the local health office where your workplace is
Yes.
where your workplace is located. So kung ang workplace may sa Quezon City, yung barangay, yung area na to, yung district na to, sino yung local health office, siya ang dapat mong pagbigyan nitong mga
Yes.
information.
Yes.
Next, the residence of the worker. Kasi baka si worker naman ay nagtatrabaho sa Pasay. So you will have to inform the barangay where he resides
Yes.
in Pasay. So
Mhm.
and then kung nagbo-boarding house pala ito, so sa Quezon City, sa ibang distrito, may boarding house siya. Dadagdagan mo rin yon ng isang information. So,
Kaninong responsibility yon?
the safety and health officer first, kung nandun siyon, if they're present, then the HR kung wala. Because sino ba ang
Okay.
nakakaalam din
Okay.
na
Before I ask my question, we have my former office mate si Ami, maganda pa siya kahit na kasing edad ko siya, at si Juan Lu is watching us now. I'm asking all those who are viewing us now to post your concerns and question as regards to the health protocols set by DTI and labor. Habang nandito pa po si ASEC and Dr. Tess. May tanong po ako doon sa contact tracing at sa ang sinabi natin dapat may OS. Paano kung ang organization walang designated na OS nga? Dapat mag-designate.
dapat mag-designate at ang pag-designate ay hindi lang ay ikaw. Kasi may training yan. Kung sabihin niya ikaw ang pero
Mayroon ka pong, is there an ongoing training for OS ngayon?
yes naman, I know look at the website of the Occupational Safety and Health Center, may mga online training. Siyempre, bawal pa naman, even to the GCQ, even the face-to-face is not yet allowed. So, there are online trainings by the center and their accredited organizations. So,
Nako,
yes.
nako, Dr. Tess, dapat bumalik ka rito kasi ang dami ko pang tanong, pero itatanong ko ng, let's go to another topic, lahat ng pinag-usapan natin yung guidelines. Di ba you're still concurrent, the Bureau of
Conditions.
Yes, yes.
Oo.
So, ang mga labor inspectors are still under you.
They're not under me. We work together with them for their program, for the
Okay.
inspection program.
Ang tanong ko lang, are they moving around to check on the compliance of the
Yes.
guideline?
Yes, they have already looked into more than, I think, more than 30,000 establishments nationwide. Remember, the supplemental is a supplement, ha? In May, we already brought out the interim guidelines. So, in the interim guidelines, meron ng mga nakasaad doon na compliances to the minimum public health standards, as well as other safety and health uh, activities that should be done by the companies. So, lumabas na sila din at that time.
Sa
And
tingin mo, Asek, ano kaya ang mga violations if ever mag-move around so that our HR will know na medyo
usually,
that
no, ang nakikita namin would be the reporting, but that's fine because we had to bring down nga our reporting form because may issues on confidentiality. That's why, it you think we are being watched by the National Privacy Commission. So we brought that down, but then the issues on isolation, in even in the yung soap and water disinfection, it is still so lacking. And to top it all, let me tell you, the DOH also ran a survey nationwide to see the understanding, or the gaps in this interim guidelines. And they saw really our workers so unaware. They would not I mean, the free yes, they said they would wash their hands, but they would only do it twice, when they enter and when they leave. Yun ba ang frequent? And then the masks, they would just it seems there is really a disconnect in, we're not letting them understand why it is so important, and why they should be responsible for their actions. Otherwise, they will be at risk and they will put others at risk. Yung health declaration form, mga iba, they don't let them answer it. I will never understand why companies will be so against asking. Then the next one here, because it's a symptom. If they have symptoms, they should not go to work. But then you would see companies who do not. So all the workers, may sipon, may lagnat, at papasok siya because they ignore the declaration checklist. Some do not even do the thermal scan. That is a very simple way of just determining na may sakit siya. So these are the frequent, and then isolation room, you will understand. Kasi mga iba, sabi nga nila, wala na kami paglalagyan, pero ang sinabi din namin, umpisa pa lang, edi mag-refer ho kayo. Kasi
may issue po yun, doktora. Kasi yung nakalagay sa una, if there is one found to be a suspect or positive in one floor, mukhang the whole building should be disinfected.
No,
Totoo ba
no.
yun?
Yeah. Kasi no, yes, there's this kasi in the first letter we put the building, but then in the second succeeding letters we talked of clustering of cases where a more extensive disinfection and closure may be done. That was maybe we overlooked that, but then on the third one would be the company policy. So it really is letting you look at it liberally and say, kung ang worker na positive, remember we're talking of positives, may positive. So, eto pa kasi we would see questions na positive siya, na sinabi niyang positive siya, nalaman niya ngayon. So, positive siya ngayon kasi yung resulta niya was just a few days old. So, maski 5 days, it still bears in mind, pumasok siya. He still has the virus. Then there's a disinfection. If his area where he went to was just like in a mall, edi doon lang siya, edi yun lang naman ang i-lockdown mo para linisin. At
May may comment po tayo rito sa isang viewer, si Jennifer. Ang sabi niya, "Is it not an overkill?" Ay, sabi niya, "I agree when it is, sa hospital, sa mga malls, wherein there should be a mask and a shield. But is it not an overkill?" Kasi daw may mga PW, nahihirapan yung ano, eh, I understand, babasahin ko po yun, babasahin ko yun. I understand the need for the face shields for medical frontliners because of the biohazard of but supermarkets and department stores are experiencing 50% decrease in capacity, and enforcing the use of face shields might be an overkill. This is on top of the strict enforcement of physical distancing.
You know,
Hindi
can
kaya
I?
overkill naman. Anong
No.
magagat?
Please understand, like I said, a mask will only give you like to the maximum 80%. A plus and a face shield will give you a protection of more than 90%. Then distancing almost to a 98 the isn't that protection what the one you want. The cases are not decreasing. We had the mask. What do you see now? 6,000, 7,000 a day. The
Yes.
hospitals are full. I mean, understand where we're also coming from, and unless we also own and put in the safeguards and understand
Yes,
why
yes.
I am going to be, because it is, and we would see this and it's like, if you don't understand and you will not protect, when will we stop? When will we say, I am going to take the responsibility. I am going to tell my workers it is so important because their lives are important and my life is important. When will we say, I want to see that 6,000 go down to one?
Yes, I agree, 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 agree.
I mean, overkill and complacency and compliance, and you
Yeah.
talk of lives.
Mm.
It's we have to balance. I know we're all hurting economically, but if it's just adding on a face shield and it is not disposable above the mask, a 95%, will you deprive that additional protection?
Alam mo, tumatas balahibo ko. I can feel you, doktora. I can feel you. I can feel you.
It was
Now, I'm now assured that we have somebody there who has a heart. He has
I
a heart.
kasi
Kilala
every day
kita,
I
kilala kita.
monitor the cases and it's like, it's like siguro now, can we, if everybody will own washing their hands, own it, be responsible, can we see? Kasi they just, I pray for the miracle every day. I would ask the Lord today, but Lord, you'll give me that miracle. But maybe the Lord is also saying, do your part. Let's all do our part. And let's see. Then that's why I'm telling the Lord, this is not your fault, Lord. This is our fault. But
Oo.
help us.
So, let's have first a break. Then we'll have two more questions. And before we have the parting, ano, I like this conversation because it is parang nagmagkaharap. Ganun tayo mag-usap, di ba? Ganun tayo mag-usap. So, let's have first a short break before we have the third part. Okay. Can we have the
Okay.
third? Okay. Hintayin
Ano
natin.
ko, konti na lang, Jesse. I have to leave in a while. May
Ah,
meeting
yeah,
ako.
sure. It's only around mga less than 5 minutes. Okay, can we have the break or wag na muna tayo mag-break kasi nakikinig lahat? Time runs so fast. Dapat may time management. I'll skip the job fair because I'll go back to the ASEC. Can we have ASEC test? Okay. ASEC test. Ako ang excited. Let me ask you this. Kasi nasa labor standards ka. I know walang diminution in pay. Pero
Yeah.
paano po yung pina-quarantine mo?
Okay.
What is the obligation of the employer?
Actually, kung may leave, sana paggamit mo para leave with pay, 'di ba? Pero this is what something that we learned from SSS. If you're COVID positive and you are of course you need to be quarantined, they will pay a sickness benefit. Okay, they will. Pero you have to be COVID positive kasi sickness 'yun eh. If you're a close contact, and then you have yourself swabbed and you're positive, then that's also now a sickness benefit because you are a confirmed case.
Kanino yan? Sa
Pero
ECC? Kanino po magbabayad yan? ECC?
SSS muna, SSS. SSS yan ha, so it's a sickness benefit for all. Ang ECC will kick in if it is proven that you got your COVID from a coworker or from, from work. Like, if it's not naman, yeah, it usually has to be a coworker or a contamination from a coworker, but it's work related, they will give it to you because then it becomes
Pero
work related.
hindi, walang obligation yung employer.
Ang obligation lang ng employer, kung may leave siya, paggamit mo naman ng sick leave para may pay din siya.
I see.
Okay.
Ang
And
mahirap
then,
lang kung hindi siya bayad sa SSS. So to recapitulate, dapat magbigay siya ng face mask at face shield.
pati mga disinfecting solution sa opisina. Yung mga,
And make sure the protocols are followed kasi may umiikot na inspector. Hindi naman required yung swab test.
Hindi. Hindi. Not for return to work. No.
So yung mga tanong that are they supposed to pay if they are in quarantine? Hindi rin po.
No, but then ito ha, kasi ito yung nakakaawa din naman kasi kung no leaves na siya, di no pay, and he has to be in quarantine. This is where sometimes we see the reissue on the health declaration. Kaya magde-declare siya na wala siyang nararamdaman para makapasok lang siya mabayaran. And this is why we're here now. You will hear me again naman in another advocacy. If you can provide, and some companies, kasi I see this naman, some companies have said, yes po, in the week, we have, they call it a quarantine leave na 50% of their daily, binibigay na nila para lang alam nila na meron silang matatanggap maski naka-quarantine, and it will keep them isolated and at home or wherever they're quarantined. In fact,
Kahit na lang siguro goods, ayuda.
ayuda.
Okay.
Ayuda.
So ang ating program po is from 12 to 1 lang po. In 3 weeks time, I will insist that you come back here kasi pag-usapan na natin, hindi na itong guidelines, more on the labor standards because hawak mo po yan ang sector. And then, so that yung HR. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Meron pa akong ikonsulta sa iyo. Tatawag na lang po ako sa iyo. Yung doon sa problema ng labor inspector. Kasi I know that we're also going to another meeting. But before you leave, and then, thank you talaga, Tess, virtual hugs. Can you have your parting message to the viewers and for those that will listen to this, na paka-share? Please.
Thank you.
Ask it.
Yes, thank you, Jesse, for inviting me here. And I really value this kind of a talk where I can tell you, of course, what we are doing, and that it is not just going to be us in government or nor you alone. It is a partnership that will have to build to defeat the virus. We have an enemy, or we are facing a pandemic with no cure, no vaccine, but we have to work. We have to go out. But that's why, unless we work together, unless we help each other, we can help fight this virus. We can act responsibly. We can take our responsibility to ensure we protect not just us, we protect our family, we protect our co-workers, their family, the community, and the society. We want to defeat this as fast. It is hard, but we can. I heard in the WHO, this virus has no brain. Definitely. But it attacks. We don't even know where it is. But we have. We know, at least at this point, what we can do, what we should be doing. Let us help each other. We will beat COVID, but we will have to do it together. Again, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much, Asek Marites Cucueco. Is a
You're
dear
the only
friend
one.
of mine. Kung nakita mo po, pareho po ang level namin when we say something with passion. Totoo yun. So
Oo.
for all HR and for everybody listening here, in my introduction, it's about compliance. It's about compliance and it's also our accountability. Hindi na nga responsibility. Our accountability for each other. Para bang make sure we are following the protocols not only for us but for the others that you will not be infected. So, yun po ang message natin yun. Anyway, babalik po tayo kasi ang dami kong itatanong. Next time, it's more on the standards of working conditions. Tapos,
Thank
pag
you.
ready po tayo, kasi itatanong natin yung mga doon, nag-iikot na pala, yung mga
Yeah.
HR, takot na takot tayo sa labor inspectors. Sa labor inspectors. And we have
Pero,
to be compliant. Ang pinakamahirap, magkaroon ka ng problema na ngayon na may COVID.
yes.
Oh, ang kasama niyan habang nandiyan pa si ASEC, ang pinakamerap, aside from the health protocols, treat your employees also well. Kasi if they are aggrieved, they still have the right to go to DOLE, di ba, ASEC?
Oh,
And
no.
then and air their grievance. So yan
Yeah.
po. So we have to balance our compliance from the health protocols and for the labor standards that we must do. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Ito po si
Thank
Jessie
you.
Francis Rebustillo, Diyos mabalos po.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye. I'll call you po. So yan po, ladies and gentlemen. Salamat po. Diyos mabalos. Parang ayaw pa tayo i-end. So, yun. So, it's actually our own responsibility, our own concern that we have to be compliant of the rules. Of course, sometimes it's, di ba? I will not mention it. Meron mga medyo hindi, not actually, what do you call this, walang critical thinking o walang common sense doon sa mga binigay. But it's uncertain. So we are hiring. This is a job fair. We are hiring. And from Wills Design and Associates, they're still looking for project managers, formworks managers, quality surveyors, geodetic engineers, HR people, pollution control officers, heavy equipment manager, even mga trainers, talent acquisition supervisor, and all of you who are interested, try to log on to their website or you can proceed to their office in Tandang Sora. So a lot of people are out of job, but sometimes HR having difficulty because it is your attitude that counts. Puzzleback is looking for 24 staff. This is BPO. So they need an HR officer, graphic artists, copywriters, and media buyers. So, yun nga. So this is the job fair of HR Hotline. So you have to. So yung dun sa ating job fair, after listening to that very informative conversation, how do you fare now? So it's more of complying to the requirements of government. And it's actually complying to us that we have to be cooperative, collaborative, that it's not even us, it's even the others, that you must not be the one that will infect others. So Aside from compliance, it's more of our responsibility. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wonderful uh, conversation that we had. I hope you were informed, duly informed. And then what I got is uh, we are perfecting it. It's VUCA. It's very uncertain. Even the ASEC admitted that they had series of supplementals after they issued their guidelines because they are also perfecting it. So we are in the situation, we are transitioning into a new normal, but again, we have to be compliant and we have to be responsible. Responsible that we don't get sick, we must be able to thrive, and will all of this after the end of the day, we are still alive. So, this is Jesse Francis Rebustillo expressing to you sincerely, Jus Mabalos